Welcome to Thursday Pace Down, where we're going to talk about achieving stillness from within. So do not run too far for peace and quiet, because the countryside will be just as noisy or as loud as the city. If you have noise within yourself, if you have turmoil within your spirit, regardless of where you are, where the next job takes you, you will always not have peace. There will always be noise. So the trick is to strive for stillness from within. And how do you achieve that? First of all, practice gratitude. So on a daily basis, when you wake up, thank the Lord, thank the universe for the job that you've got, for the life that you've got, for the family that you've got, whatever that you can be grateful of. Because you realize when you practice gratitude that it's not as bad as your mind makes it out to be. Number two, and really just understanding that for the majority of the time, it's likely to do with the environment and surrounding, but it has to do with all the beliefs from the inside. So I'll relate a story of my career. Hopefully you can relate to this, because it speaks to how I managed my career as well as personal relationships. So from 2010 when I started working, I've related the story. I was not satisfied with the place that I started working at, because I believed that I wanted to be in another financial institution. So I resented. Number one, you realize, identify what is causing that resentment. Why do you resent the place that you are in so much in your life? What is it that makes you believe that if a certain variable were to be changed, if your parents were to be present, if your friends were to be more compassionate, if the government would do better, if, right? So those are the things that create the resentment, the different scenarios that play in your head, to say that only if, or if only things were like this, it would be better. So I spent a lot of time running. Literally in my first job, I spent 6 months, and I changed to another job, because in that job, I always felt like in the city that I was in Johannesburg, always felt like the city was too busy. I could not relate, because for the first time now, I had to go to work. I had to stay by myself in an apartment. So for the 4 years prior to that, I had friends at university. We stayed in the same res, and life was good. I had a schedule, a routine, attending classes, and life was good. So now all of a sudden, I have to face myself, be by myself, So I'm having to face myself. I'm having to face the realities of the working world. And so I struggled a lot, because every other night I would resent the position that I was in. I felt that I was unfulfilled. So I reached out to my pastoral coordinator and asked that they reallocate me to another environment. So they did. Thankfully, I spent about the whole 3 years of my training there, and some 2 years working as a financial accountant. But again, I ran now coming from Joburg back to Durban, hoping that whatever that was troubling me, all the depression that I was going through would go away. All the bad habits that I had accumulated would go away. But when I moved to Durban, I realized that their self-destructive behaviors were continuing. I ruined relationships. During that period, I probably, dated, I don't know how many women, because I always felt like there was more, there was better. And that current partner didn't have what I needed, or the current partner, couldn't satisfy me with whatever. So I ran continuously. But the crazy thing is that wherever I went, the loudness, the noise within me was always with me. So remember, there's always going to be your breath, which you can't live without. There's always going to be your heart that beats stronger and louder the furthest you go. Another writer said, do not run away from a problem, because running away from a problem, it only increases the distance from the solution. So the only way to escape a problem or to escape a situation is to solve it, is to attend to it. Changing a city, right now you may be thinking, if I can just change a city, things will be better. Move away from this family who doesn't understand me. Move away from the people that don't seem to get what I want to achieve. Things will be better. I argue that not always the case. You are thinking, if I can just change this job, things will be better. If I can just change this apartment, move to another one, things will be better. Not always the case. Change is good, but it becomes very important that you adopt change, from a pull effect more than a push effect. So there's got to be something attractive that is pulling you towards the change, and as opposed to being pushed by frustration. I have realized in my life that all the decisions that I took while I'm being pushed by frustration were not the best decisions, but when there was something to aspire to, not despising the current situation that I'm at, but aspiring to the next level that I need to move to into my life, I achieve greater success and greater fulfillment. So I'm challenging you today to embrace where you are. The other time, I think on a Saturday Fit Up, one of the segments I did was to bloom where you are planted. To understand that there's a reason why you are in your current position, in your current environment, and you bloom from there. You enrich yourself with all the skills that you need for you to succeed in that current role before you move into the next one. Because there's a high possibility and a risk that you are changing jobs, but you are moving with the very same attitude that is making and creating problems for you where you are. There's a high possibility that you are changing cities, but you are taking the same habits, the same self-limiting belief into the next city. So you're always going to find problems. You're always going to find people who are unfriendly. You attract what you are, and you attract basically what you feed. So stop feeding the thoughts that somewhere far it's better, that if you emigrate, change countries, you'll be better. We've seen stories of people who have left their home countries in this context of ours, have left South Africa, they've gone to New Zealand, they've gone to Australia. But we've seen their channels on social media expressing how unhappy they are where they have now moved to. Yes, there are some who will achieve happiness, on the other side, across the ocean. But it's not always the case. So the grass is not always greener on the other side. Just remember that and embrace where you are. This is the Thursday Pace Down. Take care. Sunday Daily Bites.